Okay, in this tutorial, we're going to show how to create 3D objects from your Illustrator layers so that you can actually see them with thickness and manipulate them in 3D space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to export these layers into Maya, give them thickness, give them some colors, and manipulate them in 3D space. So here we go. So if this is from the last tutorial where I made these 3 layers on top of each other, and they are cutouts. In other words, you can see what's behind them. So they are clipping masks. I guess that's what that's called. So now if you have a bunch of little pieces, in other words, all of these little shapes right here are all in little pieces, you need to turn them all into a single compound path. So I've got these other 2 layers locked right now. I'm just working with this blue layer here with all these little pieces, and I'm going to select everything and then shift click the blue right here. So I've got everything but the big blue sheet, and I'm going to say object compound path make, and you see it turned all those little pieces into one path right here in the layers. You can see that happened. Great. Okay, so now let me see if this is a cutout. I don't think it is, but let me look at my transparency, and no, I can make it into a cutout, but it is not a cutout at the moment because it's saying that I have the option to make that mask. Great, so now I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it out of the way, put it over there. Looks like I moved the green one. What did I do there? Not really sure what I just did there. All right, I'll put it back. Well, let's see what's going on in the layers. Oh, it's green. It's definitely green. Okay, so it was the green one that I was playing with there. So we'll move that out of the way. That's fine. And now I'm going to lock that up. That's ready to go. And now I'm going to unlock these other 2 right here and move this blue one out of the way. Now you will notice that the red and the blue look a little different than the green in that it doesn't have the lines in these little shapes right here. It just doesn't show any stroke at all. And the reason why, because these are still cutouts, so you can still see behind them. Whereas the green one right here, the white is the fill. So these don't have fills, these are cutouts. So we have to make all 3 of these like the green one right here. In other words, that it can't be a cutout. So you click on, I'm going to click on this red one right here, and in my transparency, I can release, see there's a release button, I can release the clipping mask, and now it will have little lines in it again. It'll be stroke and fill. And I'll do the same thing with the blue one, click the blue one and release the clipping mask, same deal. Okay, I've got stroke and fill. So you have to release everything before you save this if you want to bring it into Maya, otherwise Maya is not going to read it right. So you have to have fill, you have to have stroke. There you have it. Now we save this and we bring it into Maya, Maya is actually going to ignore the fill. It's only going to look at stroke anyway. So you just have to have them all there. So now I'm going to save this. Let's do a save as, and I'm going to call it masktest.ai Illustrator and hit save. I've already done it once. I'm going to hit replace. And I'm going to save it as Illustrator 8. It has to be saved in Illustrator 8. That's our number, Illustrator 8, in order to get it into Maya. So I hit OK. And there, it's saved. Now I'm going to open up Maya. Oh, let me get rid of this one. Already had that going on there. Here's a new scene. And I'm going to import it into Maya. So just by hitting Command I or going to File Import. And just grab that mask test. And here's how it comes in. It comes in as vector only, just the stroke without any fill, as I had said. Okay, so now we need to add the fill back in as a 3D object. So I'm going to select by just drawing a box around this first one right here, and that will select all the pieces and the sheet around it all at once. And I'm going to go into my modeling menu up here in the corner, go to modeling, and I'm going to hit surfaces planar to turn them into a plane. But I need to go into my editor right here, my options window, little box, because I need to set something. The reason why is because normally you will, I'm going to reset the settings. This is what you're going to see. It's going to, the output geometry is going to be in NURBS, and it'll actually work as NURBS. We could theoretically work with it in NURBS, but it's not, it doesn't work as well, it doesn't work as easily. So I'm going to switch this to polygons. That's the only thing I'm going to do. I'm just going to hit the polygons so that it outputs polygons, easier to work with. So I'll hit planar trim, and there's what it did. I'll just click the background here. It worked pretty well. This is the back of it that we're looking at. That's why it's black. And then here's the front of it. So it put a plane, and it pretty much knew where the holes were and what we wanted to keep and what we didn't want to keep. Now I have to say this doesn't always work so well. Sometimes it doesn't, especially if you have a lot of curves in it. These are all straight lines. It was able to read it pretty well. It pretty much figured out what we wanted to do, and it worked great. If you have a lot of curves, your mileage may vary, and this may not work so well. So you'll have to see if this is possible for you. So I'm going to do the same thing now with the middle one by drawing a box around all of its stuff. I'm avoiding, the others. And I'm just going to hit surfaces planar. I don't have to reset that tool because it's set now for the polygons. Okay, so there's that one. And I'll do it to the last one. Surfaces planar. There we go. So you have all three. Now, if you would like to give them some thickness, we can do that. So what we're going to do is select one of them, and we are going under Edit Mesh, and we're going to hit Extrude, or Command E is the quick key. So you hit Extrude, and it gives you this manipulator here, and you can grab one of the arrows, or grab this arrow in particular, so that you can give it some thickness, like this. That look good? Yeah. Should I go the other direction? Let's see. Well, if I go the other direction, it seems to make it white rather than black. That's probably better, so I'll hit that direction. Maybe the first direction I just did was inside out. Okay, and now if you notice that when you're working in extrusion, it immediately drops into face mode, so we have to right-click and go back to object mode. Okay, there's our first extrusion. Let's click on the second one and extrude that one. I'll just hit Command E this time. Command E for extrude, and give it some thickness. Great. Go back into object mode by right-clicking, and then go to the third one, and we will do the same thing. Edit Mesh Extrude. Use the arrow, give it some thickness. Go back into object mode. Great, now we have three thicker objects right here. Let's give them some different colors. So let's right click on this first one and say assign new material. I'll make it a Lambert, like a blend shiny. Lambert's not, anisotropic shiny. Fong is shiny, Fong E is shiny. I'm just gonna make it a Lambert, that's matte. And in your attribute editor right here, it should immediately give you the color to choose right there. And if it doesn't, I'll make it green. You could just click on the tabs that show up until you find this where it looks like this and you can see the color. So there's green for that one. I'll click this one I'll say right click and say assign new material. I'll make it Lambert again. Choose the color as red, perhaps. This one, right click again, assign new material. Pick a Lambert again. And I'm going to make this blue. That'll work. Okay. And now I want to arrange these on top of each other again, and maybe, you know, separate them or something like that. So I'll pick this one, and I'll go to my move tool right here on the tools. And you'll notice that the center of the movement is the center of the grid, which is kind of annoying. I'd rather have it the center of my object, a little easier to kind of manipulate. So I can change that. I can say modify center pivot, and it will center the pivot right in the middle of your object. I'll just bring it out of the way. Now you'll notice it leaves the old vector bit behind, and we can delete that in a moment, but we'll just leave it behind for now. And I'll click this next one, and then there's a pivot problem again, so I'll hit modify center pivot. And put it right on top of it, and I think I'll then move it back in space a little bit, right behind it. Let's see how that looks. Can I see it behind it? Yep, great. Looks good. Then I'll grab the blue one, center the pivot again, modify center pivot. Put it over there, and then put it behind it. And now you can see it in 3D space. Now, if you want to get rid of these originals, you can draw a box around all of them and hit your delete button, your little delete button, not the big one, and they should go away. If for some reason it makes these go away as well, then you can hit edit, delete all by type history, and then it won't be attached anymore. When you delete your history, you delete all your attachments. And then it will work. Okay, so now we can see how this looks in 3D space. You can make these as thick as you like. You can arrange them as you wish, so you can see how they might look like that. And that gives you the ability to see what this would look if it was laser cut in the material, like a thinner material like this. Maybe you could laser cut this. A thicker material, maybe you could take a CNC router and route that out, because a CNC router will get around 3.5 to 4 inches of thickness, so you can get much thicker materials. In fact, you can even plasma cut this into metal if you wanted to do something like that. And now you can see this in 3D space. Okay, so that's it. That is the end of this tutorial.